We are watching a red day in the crypto market. We're watching a lot of different assets getting shaken while others are holding on and grinding higher. If you saw the yesterday's daily close, the candlestick on Bitcoin, the daily candle, argued that it did move higher, but even with a lot of volume, it was not able to break the previous candle's range, which had very lower volume in selling. So buyers were weak. We argued that point here yesterday, and the scientific investor family is not surprised about what the market is doing right now. You're watching some of these dropping 8-10% and giving you opportunities. Some of them are showing you big opportunity zones while it enters into the macro opportunity range. And that doesn't apply to all the assets, but if you are in the scientific investor family, you're already watching a lot of this. Remember, XRP, whether it's in one segment of crypto or you go to the commodities like silver, it's all showing you one thing in common. While you compare it with dollar, the idea gets a little bit more validation. Now, if you take current affairs or the news narrative in the market, you kind of get things clear. I'm not talking about things like this because that's a little bit on the hype side of equation. We don't want that. Rather, we want to stick with the real data. We want to stay with what's true. If you can verify that, and if the market says that's true, now you follow that. So you look at the crypto market and the money flow. Money is flowing out of Ether, going a lot into ARB or optimism. Money is going out of AVAX, Linear, ZK Zinc, and a lot of others while it's moving into Solana, Base, Sui, Starknet. So you're watching a change in the ecosystem, and that's net flows. So once you do understand that thought process, now you're like, okay, fine. Whenever this happened, the breadth in the market was very decent, which means any drop in those region was used as a buying zone. Welcome to the scientific investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. You're looking at the market in a lot of different ways, and you're understanding what the market is showing you. Some of them are opportunities, some of them are not. Some of them shows you can buy at this point. And if you do that, the market is going to reward you. Doing that correctly is going to be hard. That's why I say focus on what the market says. Bitcoin on a daily argues that the breakout was valid. You can validate that. You can actually argue the touch one here around 68,000 on 30th July was valid because the trend line gets extended towards 25 August, and that was 64,000. Now you retest that close to 15th September, around 60,000. You get rejected. So that's kind of a resistance range. Then you broke that to the upside. So the equation is very simple. You broke this pattern to the upside. Now all you want is a retest and a bounce off. This is what you really want to look for. But while you look for such events, you also have to understand the fact we'll have immediate resistances, which means the price structure may not look like this. If you take the micro into account, what we may see is something like this, and then a corrective movement before you pull back to the upside. The price goes back. So you can expect something like this coming down to 61, 6,500, and then slowly going back up to test 66, 67, Again, slowing down close to 61.60 before it takes off. That's the conservative side of the equation. If you're optimistic, yeah, your view changes. But when you're on a macro chart and you're using a 3-day or a weekly chart, nothing changed. You're still inside this equation where you're watching your RSI is just above 50, which is neutral to positive. When you go on a daily, it's at 57. It was close to 65. That's beautiful. Because when you start zooming in, you kind of get to see we went almost close to 70, but we did not enter into that region. Some of the altcoins here did enter there. Keep your eyes on them. It's going to give you a lot of opportunities in the next 10 to 15 days. If you saw them, note them down, hunt them down. That's what the SI family is doing. And if you want to participate there, use the link in the description below to get all of these charts at the right time for the right asset at the right price. Now, let's continue. If you do look at XRP, we didn't change anything. It's so boring here. It's so boring here. And we know what that means. When it's super boring in an asset, and the price action is making an inside candle, you're not looking for a huge move to the downside. Yeah, you can come back down to test 0.5. That's okay, that's normal. You're still inside the range. But while you look at Ether, you kind of get to see the taste of this. We argued this in yesterday's video. The moving average, you slow down, then you go up. Then you go up. So you slow down from the moving average, you start the ride from there. You slow down from the moving average and you start the ride from there. Whether it's on the price, whether it's on the RSI or even the MACD, all of them agrees on one point. The trend is about to change. We are very close to that. RSI already broke higher. MACD is about to do that, and the price action is getting very close. So once you understand money flow in the market is important, and then you look at the total breadth of the market, now you're like, okay, fine. I understand Bitcoin is important, but I also understand what the general market is looking for. Silver broke this pattern to the upside. Silver remains in positive territory in the MACD and crossed back to the upside. So you go on a weekly, and what does that show you? Put that on a Heiken Ashi, the equation is so clear. The MACD is about to cross back to the upside on a weekly, and the RSI is shooting towards 70 region on a weekly. That's very important, because if your monthly is about to enter there, historically speaking, that never happens every now and then. But whenever it happens, watch what the price did in silver. That's a traditional low-risk asset. That went up like 80% first time. The second time it went up 125%. The third time it went up 100%. You now know that it doesn't happen every now and then. But the third time it went up 190%. So each and every time when you go back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you get to measure something which is in front of you. 80 to 100% is the average which this guy, silver, does when it enters 70 plus in monthly chart. And you're now close to that. You're very close to that. If silver should move like that, what do you think the economy is doing? It's booming? No. Think about it. If someone is moving onto the safe haven asset, what are they avoiding? Think about this clearly. Gold is already here in the monthly, and it has done this before. The price showed us what it does, and it is already showing you where it is. So most likely it's at the mid region here. You will see a correction, no doubt, but not to the downside. You're not coming back to where you started. Rather, it's a buy the dip opportunity which should be pushing back to the upside. The macro direction, if you're watching it, you're getting very close to understanding how different currencies are getting hit hard. If they sold their gold, they're now in trouble. Dollar is starting to gain back against yen. That's not a good equation. You go look at dollar to INR, and this looks okay. INR is getting strong against dollar, at least on a weekly. Then you go on a monthly and you see, last time when you did this, there was a blow through the roof. But they're buying gold. Indian Central Bank is buying gold. So you take all this equation, the macro narrative, into the picture and bring it down, boil it down into the crypto world. It now becomes so important for you to understand the micro patterns like this. This pattern, whether it's on a micro or a macro, that's corrective. We know that. We talked about this. While we were here, we talked about this. Come down, bounce back up, and get rejected. Right? Rejected towards which direction? Rejected towards this support. We would like to see that. We would love to see that. When the price action of Bitcoin does this, understand all the macro we just discussed. It's all going to boil down into liquidity and price action. Which asset will ride higher first? Watch the RSI. It's not about you and me. It's about the big guys. If the 3-day RSI is getting close to 65, the daily RSI is already 70 plus, that's the asset you want to look at. That is the asset you want to ride. You're watching a lot of these opportunity calls we posted a month or two back, now hitting those targets. It did take 2 weeks more than I expected on the short-term calls, but it did hit those targets. That's important in my opinion. So if you want to follow all those, use the link, join the family. 1,200 plus members are riding this wave and preparing for what's coming next, because they all understand the fact that the total altcoin market cap agrees with what Ether shows, agrees with what the macro shows you. You're not moving away from the macro, rather you're aligning yourself with macro, being able to ride the big wave. So if you are watching this and you receive value, smash that like button for me. And if you want to join the family, use it, absorb it at the right time. Get the right calls at the right time. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.